So we're having a halfway pleasant week out here in the Bay Area. Came out here 2 nights ago, Sunday, and been out here mostly in San Jose, Santa Clara area. This afternoon we went up to the East Bay, up and over the mountains to through Walnut Creek to Concord, took care of a few things up there. Now we're headed back into the city on, I think, 24, connected to 580, gonna cross the Bay Bridge and then stop down in San Mateo for dinner, see a few people, and probably back down to San Jose by the end of the night. And the rental we're in is the 2022 Suburban, and we got mixed feelings about it because we own a 2007 Suburban and we love that thing to death. Almost everything about it, the way it drives, the seating position, the amount of roominess, the controls, the dashboard, the gauges, just kind of everything about it seems almost perfectly dialed in.
In half a mile, use the right lane to take exit 2B for I-580 West towards San Francisco.
Yeah, we're going through Oakland here. Oakland or Berkeley. Can't see too much because it's, you know, the middle of the evening. But
use the right lane to take exit 2B and keep right at the fork.
You know, I'll just put it like this. After driving a 2007, which was the first year of that generation, it went from around 2007 to 13, give or take. And they replaced it again around 13, 14 time frame, and then they replaced it again.
Right at the fork.
And so this is 2 generations newer than the one that we own. And I hate to say it, but after 2 days of driving, it probably put about 250 miles, give or take, onto it. We're not really feeling it. It's got a lot of neat features. It's got CarPlay and a big, probably about a 10, 12-inch screen, give or take. And as you can see on it, the CarPlay on the Suburban actually lets you...
Continue on I-580 for 3/4 of a mile.
It lets you go full screen with their Google Maps, which the F-150's 12-inch screen does not. So that's actually one improvement. But this digital dashboard that you can see here, it's kind of a mess. We got a 2021 F-150, and it's an XLT. It's got analog gauges, you know, for your left and right.
Exit 19A on the left for I-80 West towards San Francisco.
For the dial, you know, for your speedometer and your tachometer. And it's got a little digital screen in between them, a little LCD or whatever it is. This thing is full digital.
Take exit 19A on the left.
You know, it's just kind of a mess, as you can see. You can't actually see too well without staring at it.
Continue on I-80 West for 3/4 of a mile.
What your speedometer's doing, what your odometer's doing. I mean, seriously, you'd have to stop everything you're doing and sort of squint at it and be like, oh, there's the needle for your RPMs, and there's the needle for your speedometer. Fortunately, you got a heads-up display, and you may or may not be able to see it.
Keep left at the fork to stay on I-80 West.
There's a heads-up display, and it's projected just kind of beyond the edge of the hood. And that tells you your speed in big white letters, and it tells you your the speed that your cruise control is set for.
To stay on I-80 West.
And little green letters above the white ones.
Continue for 24 miles.
And so between your CarPlay, which you can look at, you know, just kind of glance at pretty easily because of how big it is, and your heads-up display projected on the windshield, again, it's sort of holographic style. It's just beyond the edge of the front bumper. That's really all you need for getting through traffic. But if you want to check your fuel gauge, if you want to check your RPMs, check any of your temp gauges or anything like that, it's just this mess that you gotta sort of squint at and stop and try to make sense of, because there's a million things going on in that screen, it's got like your drive mode, it's got a compass, it's got just a bunch of crap that you got to kind of sort of sort through. It isn't even that well organized, or not even that good looking. You know, the typeface, everything just looks kind of chintzy. Looks like almost like the readout on a video game, like one of those video games from the 80s, like your first generation Atari or something. It's just not well done at all. And so the first impressions of this thing, you know, again, after driving it for about 250 miles, we are not in any rush to replace our 2007 Suburban with 300,000 miles with something like this. You know, the gauges are kind of crappy, to be honest. Your center screen is nice, but your controls, yeah, they're kind of okay. Your shifter, it's a series of buttons sort of built into the dashboard there, and so you know, it looks almost like window switches. You kind of grab it and you pull on the R to put it in reverse, you pull on the D to put it in drive. I think neutral is a button that you push, park is a button that you push. It's kind of gimmicky. I think they wanted it to seem like some kind of new, novel thing. And obviously it saves them money on production because they don't have to build a shifter lever and any of the linkages or the, you know, the mechanisms to make that shifter operate. Even a fully electronic shifter with no mechanical connection to the transmission. You know, it's like they phoned it in. It's like a 12-year-old or a high school kid had a neat idea about how to replace your shifter with a set of buttons, and you know, we're not that impressed. At least with that. The seating position is okay. You're kind of perched a little bit high. And you don't get the sensation of having a ton of room. You get the sensation of being kind of packed in there along with a bunch of other stuff. You got a big wide center console. You can't see too well because it's dark, obviously. We're crossing the Bay Bridge, by the way. The new San Francisco Bay Bridge. And then you know, there's the first span, and then you go through an island, and then there's the second span. And so, what else? The mirror, the rear view mirror in the center is not actually a mirror at all. That's a display. And it's displaying a, you know, the output of a camera that's mounted on the back of the vehicle. And even that, if you look at it, it's kind of small. It doesn't give you that wide of an angle of a view. It gives you a pretty narrow view behind the vehicle. And so you think if they were going to go to all the effort to make a digital monitor to replace your mirror, which nobody ever really complained about. Nobody ever said, God, I wish I didn't have this mirror. I wish I had a monitor. If they're going to go to the effort to do that, you'd think they'd give it a wider angle or some other kinds of tricks to improve your visibility. You know, your visibility is not that good out of the sides or rear of the vehicle. And so the general theme you're kind of picking up is that it doesn't blow us away at all by any stretch. You kind of have to climb up a lot higher to get into this than you did the old Suburban. And you don't have the sensation, or probably the reality either, of having a ton of room. The sensation you get is that you're just packed. It feels like a mid-size SUV in terms of roominess. It doesn't feel like a full size. A couple things they did improve, and I'm not going to rag on this vehicle all day or all night. We're coming across the second span of the Bay Bridge, by the way, into the city. You can see downtown right there. Whatever's going on there in the upper part of the Transamerica Pyramid. That's that building with that series of red lights on it. It's like got some kind of video display or something on the top of it. You know, it's not that bad. It's not a bad vehicle. It just doesn't impress us in the ways that you'd think it would. A few things we do like. The adaptive cruise control is good. It does a good job of setting and maintaining a healthy following distance behind whatever vehicle's in front of you. So you can set your maximum to, I don't know, 70, 75, and it'll accelerate up to that speed. And then, you know, you start pulling up behind traffic, or you start closing in on traffic that's stopped. And it does a good job of eventually getting on the brakes. Not wait until the last minute like the F-150 tends to do. And so when you're going through heavy traffic, as we were this afternoon, we were in actual Bay Area rush hour traffic. Very, very heavy. The adaptive cruise control did a good job of keeping us from having to jump on the brakes, get on the gas, get on the brakes, get on the gas over and over again. So it did a good job in that respect. It does not have anything like the Ford's lane centering system, or lane keeping, or General Motors Super Cruise, or Ford Blue Cruise, which from what we could tell still has not come out, actually been released to the general public. So it won't keep you in the lane, but at least it'll take care of keeping a safe distance between you and the vehicle in front of you without requiring constant intervention. In terms of power, it's got an okay amount of power. It is a V8. I'm not sure the exact size, maybe a 5.3. You know, it's a General Motors V8, small block. It doesn't have anywhere near the acceleration of the little 3.5 liter Ford EcoBoost, which has impressed the hell out of us and continues to impress us on a daily basis in the 2021 F-150 that we own, the hybrid, the Power Boost. This thing, you get on the gas and it'll get you up to speed eventually, but it's not going to break any records. It's got that nice V8 sound, and so it's got that going for it. But to be honest, we don't miss the V8 sound in the F-150. You know, the EcoBoost, it makes like a growling V6 sound when you get onto it, and more importantly, it just puts on the speed with no drama and no delays whatsoever. You get into the gas and it will get you up to whatever speed you want effortlessly. And this thing is not effortless in the least. It's going to work to get you up to speed or maintain your speed, and it's going to let you know it's working hard. Okay, other issues, you can't see it again, but it's got a panoramic sunroof, and that's nice. Not that we use it that much, but the controls for the sunroof, it's a total mess up there. You cannot see it too well, but there's just like a mess of switches up there, and there's nothing that's clearly marked as the control to your sunroof. So first time you use it, you're going to be digging around up there. Hopefully it's not going to be while you're in motion, and it takes you forever to find some of the controls that you need. The steering wheel has an okay set of controls. On the left side here, it's all about your cruise control. On the right side, I guess it's all about your audio. We haven't bothered trying to figure it out. For your volume up and down, it is switches actually that your index finger and your middle finger operate, that are on the opposite side of the steering wheel. Almost like your trigger finger, like that type of a motion. That controls the volume. And it's the same one on the old Suburban. It's the same way going back at least 2 generations, if not 3. And so that's a neat little thing as far as adjusting the volume. You'll never have to get used to that or remember it. So now we're going through the city, going through San Francisco, or maybe South San Francisco at this point. Once rush hour ends, which is probably around 6:30, you can get almost anywhere you need to go in the Bay Area without a lot of delays. But during the daytime, you know, if you're in the morning rush hour or in the afternoon rush hour, it's going to take you 3 to 5 times as long. Depending the direction you're going. Overall comfort level of the seats, you know, the seats are okay. The leather that GM uses, it's kind of, I hate to say it, but they almost made leather feel cheap. no real good explanation of exactly how it's the opposite of like supple. It's kind of firm. It doesn't have a lot of give to it. It almost feels like a combination of leather and like cardboard. You know, it doesn't have a lot of texture at all to it. And again, it doesn't have a lot of give either. The side view mirrors are okay. They have a coating on them. They're automatically dimming, so you're not going to get blinded by anybody's high beams, and that's nice. Keyless ignition. That's a neat thing. The outlets, it does not have a 110. It's got a 12-volt cigarette lighter plug, and it's got a USB, a conventional USB, and it's got a USB-C. There's no outlets in the center console, and the center console itself is very shallow. It's only about, I don't know, 5-6 inches deep. The console on the Ford is probably closer to 10 inches deep, so you can fit a ton more stuff in there. And so without carrying on for half an hour or longer, I'll just say the overall verdict of this thing, knowing that it's a very expensive vehicle. And this is like the top of the line version. It's called the Premier or something like that. You just get the sense that it does not blow you away. It drives okay. The controls and the main gauge cluster is an absolute mess and an ergonomic nightmare, a disaster. I mean, it used to be scrapped and completely redone from scratch. And really, they just need to copy what the Ford has in the F-150 Lariat and above. As much as we dislike digital gauge clusters, at least Ford did a halfway decent job of making theirs clear and readable. This thing is just junk. The center screen is nice. It's nice and big. And again, unlike the F-150, it lets you do full screen with your CarPlay and your Google Maps or your Apple Maps or whatever you're using. But there's nothing about it that makes us think, damn, we need to get this one immediately. It's just kind of okay. Some of the features are nice, some of the features are really tacky, but there's nothing about it that makes you want to run, not walk to the dealer and immediately put down a deposit and take one of these home. And again, in terms of improvements over our 2007, which is 15 years old at this point and has 300,000 miles, it's just kind of underwhelming. I mean, it's good, it's okay, but overall, we're just not blown away. And I guess that's all I'll say about it. We don't want to start repeating ourselves 19 times. Anyway, enough about that. The Bay Area has been nice. We're getting 22 inches of snow in Michigan starting tomorrow, Wednesday, which is the 2nd of Feb. And it's going to go for a day and a half, or maybe 2 full days. And as of now, the forecast is 22 inches. Our flight home was actually canceled, and so we're stuck out here for another day or two. Actually would have preferred to get home to the family, but you know, you can't control that kind of thing sometimes. And we know the Bay Area is hideously expensive to live in. That's why people are trying to escape as fast as they possibly can. Anybody who has a portable job, who can leave, a great many of them are leaving and going to places like, you know, Reno, Las Vegas, or Salt Lake City or Phoenix, or as far away as Texas or even Florida. And that's kind of saying a lot if you're willing to leave a place that has absolutely perfect weather. A state that has more natural beauty, California, almost than the rest of the country put together, or at least any other 10 or 15 states put together. It's got to be bad in terms of the cost of living and the traffic and, you know, in certain parts, the crime, in order to make people want to leave. So we're getting closer to our destination here. In any case, thanks everyone. Hope you all are having a good week so far. And we're just having a good time out here trying to get to know the area. And having a decent time driving this Suburban. They just could have done a lot more with it. And there's nothing about it that makes us want to buy it. Over something like an Expedition. And absolutely not in the least compared to the F-150 that we have. All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot.